there, Murray? You ever leave the studio? Everybody just screams and yells at each other. It's not civil anymore. You ever think that Chris Stuckman ever thinks what it's like to be the little channel? I'll tell you right now, he doesn't. He just expects us to take it like good little boys and not go werewolf and just take it like good little boys.
You finished? So much self-pity, Justin, it sounds like you're begging for views. Well, I'll tell you this, not everyone is awful.
You're awful, Murray.
Me? I'm awful? Oh yeah, how am I awful?
You just played my video. You brought me on your show just to make fun of me.
You don't know the first thing about me, pal. Look at what's happening because of what you did. We're doing a skip before our video now. This is gonna be all over the internet forever. You're laughing. You're laughing. We're gonna look like losers forever and you're laughing.
I know. What about another joke, Murray?
No, I think we've had enough of your jokes.
I think you want to hear this one. What do you get when you wait a whole year and get a bunch of YouTube comments? You get what you asked for.
What's going on, guys? We're back. Jesse here with
Justin.
And today, obviously, we are going to be going over something that we've been requested a lot lately, is a Joker movie analysis and kind of just our opinions on Joker. It was both a movie that we went and saw in theaters once, and we haven't seen it since then, but we're still talking about it to this day, which kind of says enough about it already by itself.
I can't stop talking about this movie. I literally talk about it every time I talk about movies that are like gold mines.
Yeah, because 2019 was a very shocking year when it comes to film. It had a lot of great ones like Lighthouse, Joker, I Love the Irishman, Parasite. I mean, it was amazing. I mean, obviously compared to 2020 due to our limitations because of, the virus and all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, we kind of just have a lot to talk about here, so we're just going to kind of jump in it with talking about before the movie came out. Mm-hmm. Talking about how it still managed to do so good, and maybe it did so good because of the controversy.
Yeah.
Obviously, everyone that saw Joker probably has a good idea of the tragedy that happened with Dark Knight Rises, right? Where someone dressed up as Joker and shot up a theater, and a lot of people were worried, and especially with the topic that Joker does deal with, was people were saying that it was supporting incel culture, which I think that's completely wrong.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot of people that went into it without knowing kind of what the movie was going for in the first place. I think it's the exact opposite.
Yeah, I think it does really well with making you feel bad and kind of think about what you can do to make somebody do this.
Yeah.
You feel bad. You don't. It's not like you're like, yeah, I want him to do some messed up stuff. It's like the whole movie. There's some parts where I almost teared up because it's just so sad. Like his life. It just was like, like I said, you have sympathy in a different way. It's not, yeah, I agree with what he's doing. It's, you don't want him to do it because under what he's doing, he's a very nice person. It just was dealt the wrong cards in life.
Yeah, that's how it is. It wasn't even like he didn't really have a choice into, obviously he had a choice in what he did, but he didn't have a choice of the life that he got put into, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it really reminds me of the line from The Killing Joke. It was something like, it just takes one bad day to make someone turn into me. And that's exactly what this movie feels like. It's just one turn of events.
Killing Joke, and also in Dark Knight.
Mm-hmm.
Heath Ledger, rest in peace. All you need is a little push, and then that was one something he said too. Speaking of Heath Ledger, comparing both the Jokers, we want to talk about comparing Heath Ledger Joker with Joaquin Phoenix Joker, which we'll get more into probably right now we'll kind of talk about how amazing Joaquin Phoenix was. I think a lot of people can agree that it's kind of comparing apples to oranges. Both very different very different portrayals of the character that it's hard to say one was better.
Yeah, it's just both of them were going for a different approach. This one was obviously a more dark, grounded, intense, just gritty story. The other Joker was kind of just a terrorist kind of leader. It was really good. He did it very well for that portrayal, but this portrayal, I don't feel like anybody could have done it better than Joaquin Phoenix. Joaquin Phoenix nails it out of the park. His physique in the movie.
Yep, the method acting that went into him actually having to lose that much weight, because he was always kind of a bigger dude. Not like he was fat, but he was definitely a bigger dude. He had some meat on him. Yeah. He was not frail like he was in this movie, which was just...
It was really disturbing to watch.
Yeah, it really added to the character, so it was a great touch on Joaquin Phoenix's part. perfect.
And it was really cool because it's like it's supposed to show side effects of the medication he was taking, and then eventually he stops taking the medication. I mean, that's when everything goes even worse. I can't stress it enough that this movie has some of the best character development I've ever seen. Like,
Next thing I want to talk about was, since we're doing this a year later, obviously, we saw what happened at the Oscars, and Joaquin Phoenix won Best Actor, Best Lead Actor, and I think it was really well deserved. I think there was a lot of movies that were amazing. One I didn't mention earlier, which is one of your favorites from last year, was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Huge Quentin Tarantino fans. Pulp Fiction is one of my favorite movies, along with Django Unchained. It's kind of one of our first movies that we ever watched together, or he convinced me to watch, and really started my kind of movie passion. And a couple other movies that we both, another one that really stood out for Best Actor was Adam Driver in Marriage Story. Even though I didn't get to see the movie yet, the clips of his performances were really well.
I can already tell he did really well, because my favorite movie he's ever done was Black Klansman.
Yeah.
And he was amazing in that movie. Like,
for Joaquin Phoenix to beat out someone like Leonardo DiCaprio, who's kind of regarded as one of the greatest of all time, I think really shows his mark. You know, I think Joaquin Phoenix has definitely gotten a lot of the recognition that he's deserved for a very long time from this movie. Sadly, it wasn't really given to him as much as it should have been.
yeah.
I love Joaquin Phoenix in Walk the Line. I think he was great in that one. What's the other one
I watched him in Sisters Brothers, and he was pretty good in that movie.
Sisters Brothers. He did good in Her. What am I'm missing a movie. I know I am. Hold on.
He was in Gladiator.
Oh yeah, Gladiator.
He does something with his characters that like no other actor I feel like can do. Like when you know he's in a movie, you're like, all right, I'm on a ride. Like this is gonna be intense. This is gonna be crazy. Like this is gonna be a good portrayal of the character.
Again, in the video you mentioned when we were watching the Best of Bad Acting, you said something how his face. He just has a really like polarizing face, which I think is a perfect description for him. Is just he's so jarring because he can like morph his face, not necessarily like Jim Carrey level morphing, but still enough to be like his anger and just like how frustrated he was.
He can be really nice looking and then go straight to like really, really freaky, like just intense scariness. Like I don't know what it is, but like he can work his face into so many different emotions, and it's very well done.
The scene we recreated at the beginning, the "You Get What You Deserve" scene. Obviously, if you've seen the movie, you know what scene we're talking about. And his face, particularly in that scene, is so amazing.
I can't like. There's no one else. You can't mimic it. Like
Yeah.
I could not do it. It was so hard, but he is not just good at delivering lines. His body language, everything about him, makes him feel like a real person, not just acting as a character. He feels real. So
another thing I want to bring up, because I want to get to talking about the actual story of the Joker, you know, and just like the whole plot itself, not just Joaquin Phoenix and the Joker's character. But one of the big controversies was that this movie was very much taken from Taxi Driver. If you've ever seen Taxi Driver, another review, bam. But still,
self-plug.
Yeah, self-plug. But Taxi Driver is really good. And a lot of people complain about Joker saying, I've already seen this movie, it's called Taxi Driver. Which I think is a little too harsh to say.
Yeah, because I watched Taxi Driver before I watched this movie, and then I watched it, and I can see that it was definitely inspired, but it is very different in different ways. Like, it's essentially just a loner turning crazy.
Yeah.
But they do it in way different direction. Like, way different direction.
I think the biggest key part is the endings of both of those movies. Obviously, this is a spoiler review for Joker, but spoiler for Taxi Driver as well.
Year.
Yeah, exactly.
And then
spoiler for Taxi Driver, which is like
70s.
Yeah, 40 years, whatever now.
Yeah.
But is the endings for both these movies, where Taxi Driver, De Niro's character Travis Bickle, he doesn't actually get away with the original planned assassination, whereas in this one, Joker, he does get away with it. Two, I think, the biggest key differences, and was something when I watched Taxi Driver, I was like, oh man, I kind of wish he did that. Whereas in this one, I was like, oh, is he about to do this right now?
Yeah, and it changes too, which is crazy, because the whole like build up for this scene is that you think he's gonna shoot himself on live TV, but then there's a moment and it just clicks, and you can tell when you're watching it something's grinding in his head. He's not doing that anymore.
As soon as you see his face really morph into that anger, and he says the "you're awful Murray" part, and it's like,
You can tell.
oh no
right
way,
then and
he's
there,
switching it up. He's switching it up.
something.
And then, again, before we get to the plot, soundtrack to this movie is amazing.
Yeah, the score is
a lot of times you can't.
awesome.
A lot of times I'm not one to be like, oh, that score was so good, but this one was, whew,
Yeah.
intense.
The bathroom scene is just, I know it's all memed, but like
Yeah.
watching that scene, it gave me chills. Like I was like, this type of score really works with this. Like, I think they had the score before the movie was done.
I know, yeah.
So they were filming according to the score for some parts at least. Like, it was just so like crazy. Like everything on this movie was like on the dot for me. Like
Yeah,
there
it was
was
very, very well
was nothing to
taken care
complain
of.
about
Very
for
well
me.
taken care of. I want to compare your opinion of the movie from when you first watched it to now a year later. Has it changed? Did you like it as much as you did when you first watched it? Have you liked it less? Do you like it more? Because when the first time I watched it, I came into that movie and I didn't really get it, if I'm going to be honest with you. I was like, huh. It was a little too... It just completely subverted my expectations that I just didn't know how to feel about it. When I walked out of that movie, I probably would have given it a 5 to 7 out of 10 when I walked out of it the first time. And I was like...
Oh, I like
that was crazy. Like,
out
it was
like,
cool,
yo.
but it was crazy. 2 weeks later, when I realized I could not stop thinking about this movie, and I looked into it more, and I kind of rewatched the clips to see like if I missed something, I was like, holy crap, this movie's amazing.
Yeah, it was just like, I went in thinking that it was going to be a darker story, and I wanted to see what people were talking about with the whole controversy and that you're supporting someone that does this violent crime. I left the movie thinking, I wish none of that happened.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't like, oh man, that was a bad movie. It was, I wish none of that happened because
You feel
I
bad
feel
that
bad
mhm.
for him having to do this. Like,
You
I
feel
don't want
bad
him to
that
turn
Arthur
into
got
that.
sent down that course. You feel
Yeah,
bad.
and it's literally everything that happened to him was he didn't do it. It was
Mhm.
something else caused him to do it. Like the whole Thomas Wayne thing. Like, his mom lied to him, said that it was Thomas Wayne. He goes to Thomas Wayne. Thomas Wayne beats him up, and
Mhm.
is like, "It's not your mom. Your mom was with this crazy abusive guy, and they used to starve and beat you." And he got beat to the point where he really doesn't even remember.
Yep.
And it's just like, oh, that's why he doesn't eat.
Mm-hmm.
That's why he's super skinny. That's why I don't know. It's just crazy. Like
Everything is explained. Everything is explained. Like you said, there's no plot holes that I can think of.
There's
I-
not like one moment except the Murray scene
Mm-hmm.
where I feel like he did something completely like, whoa, that's like that was way farther than what he should have done.
Mm-hmm.
He was getting beat up on the subway. He defended himself. He killed them.
Yeah.
But that doesn't help him because he's a mentally ill person. So that shows him he's like, oh look, I killed these people that hurt me. Why wouldn't I just do that more? Take away all the
Mhm.
people that only did bad to me. And it's like, that's why I question the whole Zazie Beetz scene. It's like, so did he kill her or did he not? Because he didn't do anything wrong. She
Mhm.
didn't do anything wrong to him. He just imagined that they were a thing.
Another thing that got brought up after... So, I've gone back and forth with how much I love this movie. I definitely can agree that this is an amazing movie, one of my favorite movies of 2019. But I've gone back and forth with calling it really a masterpiece. Because one of the things that was, again, kind of not necessarily controversial, but for moviegoers, they were a little bit either disappointed or loved, was the fact that at the end, it like you see him in the mental ward, and it kind of comes out like, oh, was he just telling a story this whole time? Was he just making this up? And like you said with the whole leaving it up to, oh, was this real? Kind of like, was he a reliable storyteller? When he kills those 3 people, he fires a lot more bullets than that would have been in a gun. That was that. What was it? A freaking
Yeah, a revolver. It was like a 6-shot.
Yeah, exactly. And he
revolver.
want to say he shot like 14 shots, something like that. I want to say double digits or something like that.
Yeah,
right?
he shot a lot.
Yeah, and it's kind of one of those things like, was that just a continuity error, or was that on purpose because he's not a reliable storyteller? Was he just kind of hyping himself up, or did it actually happen?
Mm.
I think the mystery works out. It wasn't one of those things where it's like, and it was all a dream, where it's just like, oh, what are you just wasted 2 hours of my life?
It just kind of makes you think. It's like, do I want to believe that this crazy story could happen? Because it's very plausible it could happen. Because like, it started a movement, and a lot of people got together and started destroying Gotham because they wanted change.
Yeah.
And it kind of predicts how real life is. Like, there's stuff going on now that's kind of like what's going on here. Is people want change, so they're gonna fight until something happens.
Yeah, they're sick of being ignored, you know?
Yeah. And it's really cool to see all like the little hidden things, like the garbage rights. They talk about it like on the radio. You can hear it when they're going on the subway. You can hear it in the cars. You can hear it on the news, like when he's walking by a TV store. It's just really cool because it's like not everything is like, oh hey, make sure you see this, make sure you see this, make sure you see this. It's like, oh, if you heard that, you can tell.
Yeah.
Like, it's really messed up in this city.
And even something that was really blatant irony, but also helped fit the scene and made you kind of fall into that world, was the use of Sinatra's "That's a Life."
Yeah.
Because obviously, like when he kills him, and he's like, "Remember, that's life." Obviously, it's pretty ironic, and it's like, "Oh, okay, yeah, wow, that's kind of pretty obvious kind of connection made there." But at the same time, it makes sense for the time period for them to be using a song like Frank Sinatra's, you know?
Yeah.
So many little details that we could go on about that were so good.
And I can't tell you how many long conversations I have had about this movie with multiple different people. Even people that aren't like
Movie
big
people. Yeah,
like
us.
Like, I would be talking to people and they'd be like, oh, I didn't even catch that. I just thought it was a really good movie. And I'm like, oh yeah, like there's all this stuff, like the Gotham stuff. I brought that all up, and they're like, oh wow, that's actually really cool. I didn't even notice that.
And I like how the only true fan service was seeing Bruce Wayne getting his parents murdered in front of him.
Yeah.
Because it's one of those things that's like, oh wow, that does make sense.
Once you see Zorro in the gay blade, I was like, I know what's gonna happen here. I know it. They can't bring Thomas Wayne in and nothing happened. Like,
and even that wasn't necessarily predictable. You kind of forget that about that whole thing going on until you, like you said, you see Zorro on the gay blade, and it's like, oh.
I know what's about to happen here.
Because a lot of people complain about seeing Batman's origin story and Spider-Man's origin story so many times in movies.
And it's cool that this
one was
origin
earned,
story
and
was
it was
like at the end.
It was cool. Yeah, I was like, oh wow.
It was kind of it kind of was like a kick at the people that were saying like, you can't have a Joker movie without Batman. It's like, okay, fine, we'll give you Batman's origin at the end.
Yeah.
We'll give you Batman's origin. So it was very cool in that matter. I really like the way this movie just handled all of its content. Like, there's so many things that they could have done differently, and I'm glad they didn't.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many things that they could have done. Like, I don't know. There was a lot. They could have made Joker like this big supervillain character movie where he's like, oh,
they could have made him more. They
could have
made him more like Heath Ledger's.
Yeah.
Because if they had a Heath Ledger's Joker in this movie, it would not
work.
have been good. Yeah, it would not have been good. You needed to have this specific version of Joker.
Yeah, because this one was just kind of like a mess. It was like just a character movie. It was just...
Which, again, you don't get a lot of that in Hollywood cinema. You usually have to go indie for something like that, you know?
It felt like an indie movie, too. It was really weird. Like, I wouldn't... Like, if you told me this movie was made by A24, I'd believe you.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, this is very A24 styled. But it's not.
Yeah.
And it's very cool that kind of strays away from regular Hollywood cinema, and it's very nice that it does that because it's a fresh taste. It's a very fresh movie. There's nothing really else like it. There's movies that inspire it. It's not like
it's still individual while still paying
original. Respect
to where it came from.
Yeah, it knows what is coming from, but it's like, let's just pay homage to it. Let's be our own thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just think, honestly, I love this movie ever since I saw it, and I love it more now.
Yeah, same here. The longer I go without seeing it again, I love it more. I
don't see myself not going back and watching this movie at least one more time. It's just crazy to me I haven't seen it again since.
But we can still talk about it so passionately.
I
remember it so well.
There's a lot of movies where I like it a lot, but I don't remember everything that happens. This movie is literally stuck in my brain. Like, I can bring up this movie whenever, and I'm like, yeah, I remember that scene. I remember that scene.
Yeah.
I remember how that went. I remember how that went. It's just like every scene is just glued.
Still so fresh.
It was really good.
One of the, again, closing remarks, great theater experience. A year later, does it hold up? Absolutely.
I'm just sad that I'm not going to be able to watch this in theater anytime soon. Hopefully again. But
yeah.
It's just watching it on the theater, it was just, wow.
And this is definitely one of those movies that when I'm older and I have kids, this is gonna be one of the movies I brag that I got to see in theaters.
Yeah. There's
One
a
of
lot
those movies that you watch them and you come out of those movies, and at least I think about like, am I gonna remember seeing this movie? This one is absolutely, I'm never gonna forget this movie experience, and just in the future being like, yeah, I got to see that when it came out.
Like when you're like, if one of your grandparents says, "Oh, I watched Godfather in theaters," you're like,
Exactly.
"What? You saw that movie in theaters?
Mhm.
That's so crazy." This is like that for me. It's like, wow, I get to say I saw that. And when people are like, "Look at this classic movie," I'm like, I saw that when it came out, opening weekend.
All right, well,
Alrighty.
yeah, closing remark, 9.5 out of 10, 10 out of 10, if you could convince me.
I'm
And,
gonna give this like a 10.
If you still haven't seen this movie and you are considering seeing this movie, go watch it.
Please.
Go watch it now.
Go
stream
buy
it,
it.
rent it. All right, well,
Alrighty.
if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. We, obviously, as you can see, we love this movie.
Thank you for all that suggested it, by the way.
Yes, for everyone that I
we were
suggested
waiting
it.
to talk about this movie, and people kind of already knew that we really wanted to talk about this.
So it worked out. If you liked this video, make sure to leave a like and comment down below if we should do more videos like this, what other movies we should review and kind of analyze. And with that being said, I think we're going to have to see y'all in the next video.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Hey guys, if you guys love that video, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe down below. If you haven't already, check out some of our other videos we got right here for some really great content with other reactions, movie reviews, and many more. Hope to see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.